American political streamer talking heads have been a disaster for all of mankind. And when I talk about them, I'm specifically mentioning, for example, Vosh, the something like 30-year-old man that had to learn in real time on stream what Kosovo is, an entire country, which is bad enough. Like, you're 30 years old and you're finding out entire countries exist in real time. Alright, that's quite embarrassing. But then on top of that, it's like you're a talking head expounding. You're meant to know what you're talking about in general, so that would help if you've actually heard of the countries that there are. But if you're actually supposedly a politics streamer, professional full-time politics streamer, and you need to learn in real time on stream what entire countries are that have been at the focal point of geopolitical confrontations, of the West versus East, the US versus post-communist Russia, it's like, my god, what are you for? You are useless. So that's Vosh, right? And then his mentor, Destiny, the guy that had to find out where Gaza is on a map while doing the full-on Zionist shelling. Oh my god, these people are useless fucking retards. My god, they're fucking worthless. Why do people watch this trash? Alright, so the bar is that fucking low. The bar is that low. It's as low as it can get. And that's for people that are supposedly experts. So imagine how low the bar is for just random gamers turned political streamers. By the way, that's what Destiny and Vosh are. So, you've got this guy trying his hand at it. So, he said, in the aftermath of October 7th, weird as fuck to see so many people coming out with statements about the Israel/Palestine conflict as if they need to comment on it. Can we please stop this weird culture around expecting people with no relevant background or education to talk about world events politics? Alright, so that's a bit of a normal reaction to realising that you're basically useless when people are turning up to your stream to figure out what to think, which is of course the whole point of these people watching these streamers. It's to figure out what to think and have a buddy and reinforce what you think. You know, it's like his audience is going to be American right-wing fucking incels, and he's going to have to basically lead them, and he's got to be a little bit ahead of them, and here he is just not even knowing what to think about an entire international conflict, possible cause of World War III. It's like, my god, it's a bit embarrassing. So he doesn't know what to say. It's like you've got the fact that everyone's saying this is a genocide, it's evil. So is it as simple as that? Like, do I just come out and oppose obvious genocide? It can't. If it was an obvious genocide, what's the problem? Like, why is there two factions? You know, so it can't be that simple. So, all right, I'm gonna watch CNN and see all these old grey-haired calm people talking in a relaxed manner about how Palestine is bad, Hamas is bad, Israel needs to defend itself, alright? So they must be the ones that are in the right. But that's kind of boring, so let's see what he comes up with in order to piggyback on the CNN talking points.
If you want to consider a genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to...
So you've got him saying what all the crusty old guys on CNN are probably just a bit too tactful to come out with and say, but they obviously believe it as well. It's like they're inferior.
Cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided.
Wow. Alright, this guy's worth watching. He gets it right by copying CNN, who tells him what to think, but he's willing to say things that they're not. So he's even better than CNN. I'm gonna follow him on Twitch, and I'm gonna pay attention to him from now on. Wow, he's figured out, he's cracked it.
Baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question.
Wow.
It's crazy that people don't see it.
It's not even a question, holy shit. So he went in a year from, can we please stop it, this weird culture around expecting people with no relevant background or education to talk about world events or politics. So he's went from just having no idea what to say and being really embarrassed and insecure about it, just being caught totally blindsided by, I don't know how it's possible you get blindsided by an ongoing genocide that's been going for decades. But he managed to do it as an American. You know, it's an American tradition to just have no idea of what's going on in the world around you, and he's living up to it. But He's had to fucking muddle his way through it, and he's gone from stop expecting me to know what I'm talking about and say stuff and sound smart and not embarrass myself. He's gone from that to...
It's not even a question.
So a year ago I just had no clue, and now it's like, man, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. We need to genocide them. It's a good idea. My god.
It's crazy that people don't see it that way.
Why do people listen to these useless fucking retarded fucking... It's hard not to use the C word, holy shit. I was gonna say retarded C word there, but my god, it's just, that's exactly what these people are.
Give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. It's crazy that people don't see it that way.
It's crazy that a year ago I had no idea what to say or think, and no relevant... It's weird how a year ago when I had no relevant background or education to talk about world events or politics, have managed to just assemble that in the span of a year, and now I'm going to start castigating people that haven't managed to do it just like me after a year. By the way, see, in a year, entire countries can be bombed into oblivion. You know, it happened with Iraq, it happened with Libya, it's happening with Gaza. So Americans can't be taken a year to figure out what to think. It's just not enough. It happened in the Kosovo that Vosh had never heard of. So, if Americans are sitting there recusing themselves for reasons of avoiding embarrassment for a whole year, even if they're going to get it right in the end, which this guy can't do, it's still too long. Like, you have to be able to oppose genocide in less than a year, my god. And he can't even do it.
It's crazy that people don't see it that way. They'd be doing the same thing.
Alright, so because Israelis and Palestinians are going to genocide each other, we have to side with the one that is actually in the position to be able to do so. What kind of might makes right bullshit is that? What would his position be if the Palestinians had all of the weapons and they were the ones committing genocide on the Israelis? What would his position be there? Would he just condemn all of these people and just encourage the winner to keep winning? It's just spineless, principleless crap. And that's the thing, like, see back here? This was just spineless. This is just cowardly and spineless. Backboneless, whimpering and useless for a streamer. If you're ever going to talk about politics on stream, you have to be able to talk about an ongoing active genocide, the most obvious genocide in human history. A live streamed genocide where you can see babies burning in open fires from bombed houses. You can see only just freshly dead deforming under the heat, like red hot metal in a fire. And there's way worse than that. At least it's over relatively quickly for those people. So it's just useless.
And how much did they kill? As many as they can.
One answer. I don't have an answer, so I'm going to just say as many as they can. I'm not going to quantify it whatsoever. I'm going to make a comment on something else, their capacity, their capability. Fucking useless. What a dodge.
They're not able to kill as many people as Israel because they don't have as many bombs and as many weapons. But if they did, they'd be doing the same thing. That's it. Just takes enough. That's right. These people are not your allies. They are not...
Fucking idiot. What a provincial, ignorant American fucking clown. You're just useless. This is an American telling me... He's addressing me here, right? And he's telling me that Palestinians are not my allies. These are the people that fly Irish flags and Basque and Catalan separatist flags and Cuban flags. See the oppressed, downtrodden people of the world that are under the boot of imperialist powers? They all are aware of each other's plights. They are allies. Alright, so this is probably some of the most worthwhile insight I can offer into this subject as a Scot that's a Celtic fan, that is Scots-Irish diaspora. Every weekend, 50,000 Celtic fans, 60,000 sometimes, pack into Parkhead in Glasgow. Google it, Parkhead, we call it paradise. The Green Brigade, which is the only, well, one of only, I think, 2 left-wing ultras in all of Europe, ultras are like, traditionally in England, they've been like right-wing, skinhead, Nazi, racist. They're like a young team. They're like it's almost paramilitary with a lot of these. They're like a fan club that is really dedicated and fervent. They support their team, but they also go out and batter other ultras. They're like a gang around a football team. Celtic has one of the only left-wing ultras in all of Europe. Pretty much every other team has some right-wing thugs and skinheads. The Green Brigade, Celtic's left-wing ultras, fly flags and banners of solidarity with Palestine on match days. Celtic gets fined by UEFA for doing that. This is the Scots-Irish diaspora. The Irish diaspora, remember, you have the IRA, who are fighting for Irish independence and unification from English, especially, oppression. And by the way, remember, the IRA were given weapons and stuff by Libya. You have all of these separatists groups that have connections and ties. And the example of Palestine and Irish unification and liberation, those are some of the, like, I'm quite sure I've seen Irish flags being flown in Palestine before. There's definitely loads of Palestinian flags being flown in Scotland by the Scots-Irish diaspora. So it's just, see, when I hear an American telling me this, it's just embarrassing. It's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know nothing. You've never even left your little bumfuck town in Missouri, whatever the fuck, some shithole fucking hillbilly town. You've probably never left it. You've never even been to any of these countries. You don't know anything you're talking about. You know nothing that goes on in the world, and this is why there's this cheap dig that's often made at Americans where they can't even use a map. They've never been educated in anything that goes on. Like, they're so provincial and stuck in their own country. They think that their country's great and everywhere else is shit. Everyone wants to be American, but they just don't know. Like, see, this guy, he was pulling his own teeth out. Pieces of his teeth that were still there were being pulled out with pliers because he couldn't afford to go to the dentist. He can't afford a dentist. His country is so shit that it hasn't figured out what the point in organising into societies is for, and you're still supposed to pay for your own healthcare, education, everything. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in America soon people are having to pay companies to put up street lamps outside their own houses. Like, my god. Like, you're not even going to have streets being maintained by the government anymore over there. Like, the whole point in a society they haven't figured out. And he's talking about Palestinian or what is it, just brown people culture, and he's just saying it's shit. Mate, you couldn't even go to a dentist. None of the teeth in your head are even real. You've probably just got porcelain veneers at this point. I think he even admitted that. Like, see that scene in World War Z where the CIA guy is pulling his teeth out with pliers in front of Brad Pitt, and he's like, yeah, we have to stop the spread of the virus, we have to get rid of the bite. He actually probably looked like that guy at one point. My god, I think he was, like, I'm just imagining his sink being full of teeth and blood, and he's just spitting into his sink like that guy in that movie. Because I've read some weird things, like, a lot of this has gone into myth, but I've seen stories of how he would rub his gums on the walls and stuff to get the blood out of his mouth. Like, he would just wipe it onto the wall. Like, what is that? Like, what? You can't just go to a dentist. Like, see here in Scotland, and I'm sure in some other countries like the Nordic ones, like Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, healthcare is just basically free just for everyone at all times. See, to get dentist, see, under the age of something like 26 in Scotland, all dentistry is free, no matter what. Like, his mouth, he would have had everything done the entire time it mattered, and he would have became an adult and remembered to brush his teeth. But he spent his entire teen and 20s years just drinking fizzy juice, and having his teeth fall out his head, and not being able to afford a dentist to extract the fragmented little stumps so his mouth wouldn't be infected. I think he described at one point recently, like, he uploaded a video that was basically a life story thing, and I watched some of it. I clicked off it at some point because it was so depressing, but he was describing how he would basically be doing self-surgery on his mouth because he was in so much agony. I'm having all these dentist things in media, like dental problems in media, come to me, like that scene in Castaway where Tom Hanks is sitting there with a rollerblade, a skate, and he's getting up ready to whack it with a rock to get the infected tooth out. That's what this guy was actually like in the first world country, the best country in the world in 2000 and what would have been 2020 or 2018 or something. Like, this is what's going on in the first world cultured, superior culture of the United States. People are extracting their own teeth fragments with a pair of crappy rusty pliers in the sink in their trailer park house in the middle of nowhere. Or, and this is something I've read about as well, people are doing like self-surgery in their bathtubs. They can't even afford to go to the doctor to get an infected wound looked at. Like, there was some YouTuber called Happy Cabby, who's dead now, that was obese, right? And he described how see, when I saw this YouTube video from this guy, it reminded me of that episode of House where Dr. House, right? He's sitting in the bathtub, he's got all of his equipment, he's sterilised everything, and he's trying to excise all of these tumours in his leg, and he eventually passes out just about from all the blood loss, and he's in so much pain his hands are shaking while he's trying to extract. He's trying to do this fine surgery, repeated procedures on all of his tumours because his leg is just riddled, and then he eventually just gives up. That's what this actual guy was doing in real life, Happy Cabby, in like 2015 or 16 or something, because he couldn't afford to go to the doctor. He couldn't afford to go to the doctor to deal with his infected wound that was at risk of turning septic, so he had to just buy some cheap DIY medical instruments and solutions. It's like in No Country for Old Men, actually, as well. Like, that's another one. It's just, these are coming to mind. This is what it's like. This is what I imagine these people are actually doing for real. They go into a store, buy all the stuff they need, and then they get pumped up and they get into their bathtub and they start doing medical procedures on themselves, DIY, that they don't even know how to do properly because they can't afford to go to the doctor. Like, these are life-saving medical procedures that people need. Like, this guy has got no teeth now for the rest of his life. You're like, imagine having a population going around without teeth. That is America. Like, we're not even gonna put aside enough money to make sure people have teeth, the things that they need to fucking eat. You need your eyes, you need your teeth. If you can't see and you can't eat, you're not a viable person, pretty much. Like, you can't be productive, you can't contribute to the economy, pay taxes, be healthy, be vigorous. And America can't do that. Like, it's all privatized. It's just, oh my god. And this guy talks about countries like Palestine having shitty culture and shitty values. It's like, my god, at least they can afford, like, see part of why we bombed the hell out of Libya and turned into a destroyed rump state? It's that Gaddafi decided to nationalise the country's oil, so it wasn't in the hands of American and French compradors that could siphon wealth out of the country's resources and bring it back home to the imperial core, the Centrodad. Gaddafi decided, we're not going to allow our country to be exploited by foreign national interests, foreign businessmen. We're going to kick them out, we're going to nationalise our resources, our industries, and we're going to use the wealth, the surplus that creates, to benefit our own people. Alright, that's it, Gaddafi's done. We sponsor coups in other countries. We've been doing it for decades. When I say we, I mean Americans, fucking Americans especially. They sponsor coups in other countries, they sow dissent. Michael Parenti's really good for explaining this. We undermine other countries' democracies, and we turn them into autocratic, right-wing shitholes, so we can siphon wealth out of those countries. And by the way, see Saudi Arabia, that's an example. That's an autocratic fucking police state, basically. And that's the pipeline of black gold that leads back to America, has been for decades. Do you think we have any problem with Saudi Arabia having shit values? Is this guy complaining about Saudi Arabia? No, he's not saying Saudi Arabia deserves to be genocided. He's saying Palestine deserves to be genocided. It's spineless It doesn't make any sense. These people have no principles. They're not consistent. They're just winging it. It's just spineless, honestly. Yeah, so you've got Libya that was nationalising its industries to benefit its people. We're gonna destroy that country. You had Iraq. Saddam in the 70s was doing the same sort of thing, nationalising, setting up social programs, improving the health standards and education of people in the country, turning Iraq into a wealthy, rich powerhouse in the Middle East. And of course, we decided to destroy Iraq with several wars. That's what we do. That's our values. That's American values. That's American foreign policy. Yeah, do you know who are our allies? Saudi Arabia. They literally are our allies, and that's despite them adhering to... Well, listen, I need to get back to this, man. I'm going to just continue, right? We'll get into that.
Your allies, they are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways.
What about Pinochet when he was... or Suharto in Indonesia? Well, this is the thing. You've got Operation Condor, where the Americans terrorized the whole of Latin America, turned it into just a series of failed, chaos-torn right-wing shitholes led by military juntas like Pinochet. And then you've got Suharto in Indonesia, where, what was his name, Sukarno, was deciding to make an alliance with the communists, and they were going to create extensive social programs and nationalise industries, have things be regulated. And that pissed off the CIA as well, and that's a Muslim country, so they installed Suharto, and he went on an absolute terror spree, just started murdering tens or hundreds of thousands of people. That's a CIA-sponsored right-wing dictatorship. That's what we do. Fucking Chile is the obvious one that everyone's heard of. Why do you need to be reminded of this stuff? In South Africa with Nelson Mandela, who we celebrate now as I don't know, he probably won the Nobel Peace Prize, for fuck's sake. We were opposing Nelson Mandela in South Africa and undermining the efforts of the freedom fighters there, while the Cubans were sending soldiers over to make sure that apartheid bastards were defeated. Like, my God, we're on the wrong side every fucking time. And whenever there is a wrong side, half of the time, we created it in the first place. Like, my God, we armed the Taliban in Afghanistan. We radicalized them. Saudi Arabia, I've mentioned already. ISIS, we created ISIS as well, for taking out Assad in Syria. We shit on Assad, but we created ISIS. We shit on ISIS. We shit on ISIS when we created ISIS, and the Russians have to come in and destroy them. Oh my God, we created the Taliban in the first place in the 70s to defeat the communists, and now the Taliban are in charge of Afghanistan. It's just ridiculous. ISIS values are American values. Ukrainian Nazi values are American values. Taliban values are American values. Right-wing death squads in Nicaragua are American values. Like, if the CIA has sponsored it and armed it and supported it for decades, what is that if not an endorsement?
It is that simple. No, I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care. I don't support them.
Babies and young women, pregnant women being dismembered, eviscerated, burned alive, en masse every day for a year. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. There's so much wrong with this. Like, you could say, alright, see the government, the people in charge in Gaza and Palestine, they're evil. We need to kill them. But then he takes it even further and he says that all the civilians that are being mass murdered, genocided, they deserve it. It's collective punishment. Alright, you're a baby and your parents think gay people are bad. Alright, you need to be burned alive. This is Asmongold. He's advocating an ill-formed inconsidered collective punishment of the people of Gaza, all of them, millions of them. So you would support the total destruction of Germany, all the civilians, all the women, all the children, to we just kill them all? Like, we had the Nuremberg trials where we hung the lieutenants, the leaders, all the people that collaborated. Do we just kill all the civilians as well? Like, my God, is this his morality here? You know, it's just absurd. I don't understand what the hell he was thinking saying this. Even if he assumed he was not at risk of being banned on Twitch, it's just absurd that he would even say this. This is something where even if it was safe to say, you would have to just feel so stupid saying it. Let's go through this again.
If you want to consider a genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now.
It's just absurd. He can't define fiqh. He doesn't know what a madhab is. He can't give a single he can't separate by even a hair Hanbali and Hanafi. Like, see when people say Sharia, they don't actually mean Islamic jurisprudential conclusions, like we have to stone gay people. He just means Muslims. Like, I don't like, it's just saying I don't like Muslims, or maybe even I don't like brown people.
Genocide built into Sharia law right now.
What's he talking about? It's like, how do you genocide a subset of your population that it applies to? Like, Sharia applies to Muslims, pretty much just Muslims, and they consent to live by it by being born into the family. That's the way they look at it. Like, you're born a Muslim and you consent to be governed under Sharia. There's Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki, Shafi. There's all these different schools of Sharia. They don't agree on everything. Sometimes they're wildly different. What is he actually talking about? Like, if you ask them, okay, what laws are genocidal, he wouldn't be able to answer. It's just racism. It's the same. It's like a hangover from Iraq in 2003. It's the same kind of anti-Muslim, anti-brown, ignorant bigotry, basically. Like, he can't elucidate on this whatsoever.
They're trying to put the Iraqi law down on London. They're just trying to put their law down on us, and we can't stand for that.
Which Iraqi law is this?
It's the Muslimic law. They've got their law. Obviously, it's their law, isn't
it? Like I said, he doesn't know what Hanbali is. And if he's even heard the word Hanbali in his life, it would have been in the way that leads him to some awareness of how silly his position is, because that's the madhab of the Saudis, and that is the wellspring of the seedbed for, what is it? The Wahhabism, Hizb ut-Tahrir. So, it's like, in order to have even heard of these terms before, he would have to have probably developed some awareness of his own country's responsibility for the spread of the worst aspects of Islam and Muslim behaviour. Like, anytime radical, extreme Muslims have started just bombing civilians or killing people or whatever, you can often trace it back to American influence in the CIA.
U.S. National Security Advisor Brzezinski flew to Pakistan to set about rallying resistance. He wanted to arm the Mujahideen without revealing America's role. On the Afghan border near the Khyber Pass, he urged the soldiers of God to redouble their efforts.
We know of their deep belief in God, and we are confident that their struggle will succeed. You know, that land over there is yours. You'll go back to it one day, because your fight will prevail, and you'll have your homes and your mosques back again, because your cause is right and God is on your side.
We meddled in Iran in the 50s because of oil. We meddled in Iraq because of oil. We meddled in Syria because of Assad nationalising things and not opening up the country to free market exploitation, foreign interests, compradors. It's like, if he had ever heard of Hanbali, he would know of the whole embarrassing relationship that exists between Americans and Saudis, where they're our oil supplier and we just look the other way. Like, this came up during the Qatar World Cup. It's like they're supposedly immorally using, what was the claim, that they were using slave labour to build stadiums in order for us to go over there? Or what was the complaint about homophobia? Complaining about that. So it's like there's a embarrassing cognitive dissonance where we just look the other way when Muslims do things that are not aligned with our moral values or liberal Western moral values. And then you've got the Saudis who are supposedly executing gay people every week, and he just doesn't care. Like, he's fine because he gets to put petrol in his car. It's just absurd. the double think. Muslims are bad unless CNN doesn't complain about them. No matter how regressive and backwards and barbaric and third world they are, we only have a problem with the fact that they're Muslims if they're our geopolitical enemies, like Iran or Syria, or Palestine and Gaza. You know, it's just pathetic, man. Like, watching Americans fumble around these subjects is just...
So no, I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws...
Yeah, see, genocide baked into their laws. What does that mean? Are they genociding gays? Are they genociding women by not letting them get educated properly, like the Taliban are not doing? It's meaningless. If I asked him to elaborate on this, he probably wouldn't be able to. And I think he realised that. That's why he eventually apologised for this. He must be embarrassed on some level. Obviously, he could say that the apology is compelled. Like, I responded here, you're a gullible... Like, this guy, the quartering, I don't know, I think he's a prick. He says, that was a quick apology, they won't forgive you, by the way, the replies are proving it. And then I said, you're a gullible dupe if you give out forgiveness on the basis of clear PR apologies. Typical American bullshit through and through, both saying this genocide was Zionist drivel in the first place and then going into an unironically engaging corporate boilerplate PR mode. Yeah, it's just such a quintessentially American corporate thing to do, to just have a massive fumble publicly and then just give out some phony boilerplate apology when you see the controversy happening. Couldn't be me. He said, looking back on it, I was way too much of an asshole about the Palestine thing, my bad. Of course, no one deserves to have their life destroyed, even if they do things or have views I find regressive. You guys deserve more than me saying stupid shit like that. I'll do better. What the hell is this? I have no expertise on this topic. I can't comment meaningfully on this. Stop expecting me to. I do not care about people being genocided. You deserve better. A year ago you deserved nothing from me because I was clueless and had no expertise, but now I need to do better. I need to raise the standards. Like, my God. Yeah, alright, that's enough of this, I think. I just wanted to talk about this, especially because of the whole thing he said here about they're not your allies. Like, that was just absurd. It's so obvious that Palestinians are allied with separatist resistance movements all around the world. They're all aware of each other. They exchange personnel, they help each other, they support each other, whatever ways they can, quite openly as well. So it's just, it's embarrassing. Just watch a Celtic match, the first 5 minutes when the camera's panning around the stadium and you see the Palestinian flags. They've been flying them for decades, every weekend. You just didn't know. Because you were stuck in a musty basement, pulling your teeth out because you couldn't afford to go to a dentist. It's not Hamas's fault, it's not Palestinians' faults. It's your own politicians' faults while they funnel money around the globe, setting up these backwards, autocratic theocracies that you're so afraid of, that you've been boogeymaned about by CNN, your real enemies have been setting you on red herring wild goose chases against the wrong targets that they put there in the first place.